Hey everybody, how's it going? Been a little short on the old content last few days, 3-4 days since I posted a video. Went to the lake, friends. Friends, I gotta say, for most of my adult life, I've just worked all the time. I'm that guy. I work Monday to Friday. Sometimes I work Saturdays, Sundays, late at night in the shop. I'm just a worker bee, friends. But now that I have a baby Charlie, she's 10 months old. She's starting to stand up on her own. And I think it's super important to make those family memories. So yesterday I was getting ready to come out to the shop and make some content. And I remembered that my folks are up at Winnipeg Beach. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, it'd be nice to go to the beach today. So we loaded up. Next thing I knew, we were driving to Winnipeg Beach on Lake Winnipeg. Super nice if you've never been there. It's just a big freshwater body of water. It was nice yesterday. It wasn't too hot. Baby Charlie didn't know what to do with the cold water. And then by the end of the day, she was playing in the sand with Daddy. So awesome. Just what a blessing to have a child. And it makes me feel younger. And it realigns my brain, you know, what's important and what's not. And what's important to me is my family and my legacy, you know, how I treat other people and what kind of an impact am I in other people's lives. I think that's more important than material things or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. So anyhow, friends, and one thing I always do when I'm at the lake, I will swim way out past the crowds into super, super deep water. And I will just sit there and calmly tread water and just take it all in. It puts my brain into perspective. I need to do that a couple times a year, you know, way out with nobody, just, you know, swimming in that big body of water. It kind of does something for my soul. Okay, friends, what are we doing today? I got the ms460. I ripped it down, bought this off of my buddy. I want to go through this saw, clean it up, make sure, you know, make sure it's to Tin Man spec. My buddy builds a good saw. I've bought many saws off of him. But this one, I want to build this and have it as another test saw. I'll send it to somebody that cuts and let them play with it. Thank you to everybody that helps out this channel. You know, the revenue made on this channel, I use to buy stuff like this. I purchased this saw strictly for content. I want to thank everybody that takes the time to hang out on this channel. Thank you to everybody that drops a super thanks on videos. It helps. Every little bit helps, friends. So anyways, I bought this saw and thought, hey, why not do a Stihl ms460 on the channel? Now, I want to say something, friends. I dropped into Wolf Creek Saw Shop. I ordered some parts for this saw. This build, I want to do an OEM cylinder. I have one right here. Came with this saw. This is a big bore. I don't think I'm going to use this for this particular build. Nothing against this top end, but I want to see what kind of power I can make with a 77cc top end. Now, another thing, friends. I was talking to Ryan from Wolf Creek the other day. Again, huge supporter of this channel. A lot of the parts that I use on this channel come from Ryan. He's just been a great help. He mentioned he did up a promo code. If you go to Wolf Creek Saw Shop and do an order, put in the discount code TINMAN and you'll get 10% off your order. So, thank you, Ryan. And that's cool. I've never had anything like that, friends. That's the first time. So, again, check out Wolf Creek. If you like what I do here, Ryan is a huge supporter of this channel. Okay, so what we're doing today, I stripped this saw down. I want to put a timing wheel on it. I want to time the big bore cylinder and see where it runs. I ran this thing. It's not bad. It's a little bit lacking in crack and pull. It's kind of grunty. It doesn't spool up very quick. And I want to see where the timing numbers sit on this. And then let's put this OEM cylinder on and give this a quick time. And that way we know where we're starting. My parts from Wolf Creek, I ordered a Meteor piston for this saw. And some bearings and gaskets and that. And I think we'll go through the bottom end on this. Nothing wrong with the bottom end on this saw, but I want to run through this thing and just make sure it's good to go. So anyhow, I'll get you guys in close. I'll put the wheel on. Let's see where this big more aftermarket cylinder times. I'm curious. Okay, I got the wheel on the big bore. It's zeroed. There's bottom dead center, top dead center. Okay, I'm going to call where the exhaust opens. Again, I'm just looking through, and I'll show you guys once I get it lined up here. I'm just looking through the exhaust port and looking for that first ray of light. Stick a light through the spark plug hole. Okay, and here we are. 99 is what I'm seeing here. And I see the camera is nice and lined up. I'll show you guys the exhaust port. You guys see that little ray of light right there? Okay. Oh, closed. Okay, that's how I do it. And it shows. Okay, there's 90, 95, 6, 7, 8, 99. So definitely opens fairly early. Not bad though. But I found this saw wasn't a big rever. I'm not sure why. You'd think with a 99 exhaust it should pull decent RPM. It wasn't a bad saw though. It wasn't weak by any stretch of the word. But I thought this thing was going to time maybe around 102. So, hey, it is what it is, right? Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to watch for the transfers opening. This saw looks super nice inside. It's got a couple tanks on this top end. All I'm doing is peeking through the spark plug hole and looking for where the transfers open. Looks like 125, so we have 26 degrees of blowdown. Interesting. Yeah, I think this saw may want 24, 23. Just my thoughts. Okay, so we're 99, 125, so... Okay, now I'm looking at the intake. Sorry, I moved you guys there. Intake. Right here. Opens right about there. So 76, so we're at 152 basically. Okay. 152 total intake duration. Those are good numbers. Interesting. You know what, friends? I wonder if the stock muffler on this is the reason why this saw, I don't know, it felt like it was kind of lacking in something. Okay, so 99, 125, so 26 degrees of blowdown, and 152 intake duration. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to pop this cylinder off and put the OEM one on. Okay, and if I do this right, I can just pop this cylinder right off without touching the timing. There we go. Okay, 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just give me a second, I'll pop those off and let's put the OEM top end on. Okay, I got the 4 bolts out. Shunk. Let's take that off. Looks like this has an OEM gasket underneath. Now again, there is no time. Let's see if I can get this off here without blocking you guys too bad. There is no time on this top end. See, so this big bore is so big, I can't slip the piston through the gasket. Interesting. Wow. This thing's clean inside. Maybe it doesn't need to be rebuilt. Okay, I pulled the big bore top end off. There's been a little bit of porting done on the lower transfers, which is cool. It's good to see guys starting their porting career. He just opened that up a little bit, left it rough like I would, and didn't hurt nothing, right? Every time you port a saw, you build upon your previous knowledge, and after a while, you kind of get some moves that you like, and you start doing it. So I think that's awesome that he ported this. Okay, now this cylinder has like 2 tanks. Exhaust port looks fine. Transfers must have been just tiny in this thing. Now, I am going to say something, friends. The OEM top end, this is wider from here to here. There's just a bigger path. This was obviously wider because he ported these a little bit, and they're about the same width. Okay. Upper transfers, they're flat and small. OEM, they're wider. They're a little bit pitched up on the intake side. Okay, and they're just a bigger transfer. So I'm guessing the reason why this saw runs the way it does, maybe I need to port this cylinder and throw it back on. But my guess is that this, you're not getting enough air from the bottom end to the top end. This thing runs a lot like a stock 288. And remember what I did to my 288 that I've been playing with? I hogged out the transfers wide and got air flowing into there. Now, the other thing, I'm going to put the one wrist pin into the other piston, if I can get it to work. Hold on, friends. I'll just line them up. Okay. Notice how short the intake skirt is on an exhaust skirt is on the aftermarket. Okay, look at that. Like 10 degrees difference. Now, friends, I'm going to say right now, this is a perfect example of why piston design dictates how I port a saw, okay? Look how short this thing is. The wrist pin is very low. It's super top heavy compared to the OEM. Now, if you have a really short intake skirt and a top heavy piston, what happens? It's top heavy, right? Can you guys see the wear? I hope you guys can see this. See how shiny that is already? Well, okay, that's intake wear on the intake side of the cylinder. Okay, now as time goes on, this only has like a couple tanks on it, as far as I know. It looks like it. Starting to bed in, you got some fine little scratches there, exhaust side, little mark there. Okay, but friends, if that's already wearing like this, see that? That's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner till it's probably this tall. You'll have like a 1/4 inch of shiny, and then what will happen? This piston will start to rock, and it'll break the intake side. So again, a fella probably doesn't want to widen this intake anymore because you're already having intake issues. Okay, so I thought that was interesting. Look at how a saw is wearing and make your decisions based on that. Okay, so I want to port this saw with this OEM cylinder. I will clean it up. The bottom end looks like brand new on this saw, friends. Have a look at the bottom end on this saw. It's clean, clean, clean. No discoloration. I might leave this thing back together. Okay, so I'm just going to mock this thing back up with the OEM piston, no rings. Let's compare timing. Another thing I'm noticing, the wrist pin in this OEM piston, it's tapered and thin and light, okay? You know we like that kind of stuff around here. It's even better when it comes from the factory. Okay, so I'm going to take this, slip it in there, line it up. Hopefully I'm not blocking you guys. I may still freshen this saw up, just because then I know what I got. I'm like that. I would rather, I was talking to a buddy the other day, and we were talking about farm trucks, you know, the backbone of your outfit, at least me, is my pickup truck. I need that truck to run and haul and tow and all the other stuff we do with pickup trucks out here. And so we were talking about buying a truck, and it's like I often would rather buy a truck and then just tear it apart and replace all the things that I know will go wrong with that particular truck. That way I know what I got. I'm kind of the same way with saws. I would rather build a saw than buy a saw, because that way I know exactly what I'm into it for. Okay, I'm just going to bolt this down. We'll re-zero it, and let's compare the timing numbers. Okay, OEM top end. I'm going to put the scope back in the hole. and do my timing. Always put it on the maximum brightness. This thing's got a decomp that's broken. I don't like those top decomps. I always take them out. A lot of guys are offended if I send them a saw with a decomp in it. So, okay. Just got to get my scope set up here. There we go. Okay. Top dead center. Right there, friends. 102. There you guys go. 102 after. Okay, I got the OEM cylinder and piston bolted on. Look at that. Broken decomp. Never seen that. Friends, that's why I don't run decomps. Guys are offended if I send them a saw with a decomp. Professionals generally. These things are bad news. Okay, we're at top dead center. I'm going to turn the wheel and I'll call it once it opens. Right there. 102 after top dead center, which is where I guess the big bore should have been, but OEM 102. I have a feeling this thing's going to time like an 044. Now I'll check the transfers. Again, peeking through the spark plug hole with the scope. What do we got? 126. Wow, this thing's cut. This is your stock numbers. This is a stock piston and cylinder with a stock base gasket. Okay, we'll call it 125. So we have 27 degrees of blowdown on this saw. Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. And intake is opening right there. What do we got? 70. So 140 degrees total intake timing. 27 degrees of blowdown, 102 exhaust. Huh? Interesting. Let's talk about this. Okay, friends, and I just misspoke. 102 and 125 is 23 degrees of blowdown, okay, on the OEM cylinder. Again, I was guessing that that's where this saw was going to be happy at. Well, that's what the factory engineers put it at. The aftermarket cylinder had what, 26 degrees, so maybe a little too much blowdown on this aftermarket top end. Transfers are really small, and another problem with this design is the windows are super tiny. I'd be inclined to hog these out, but again, friends, this is just like a 288. One window is completely blocked on the intake side. So, again, I could feel this saw. It felt like it was winded, if that makes sense. Well, right there. Not enough air is going through this piston. The transfers are too small. You got long blowdown. Good intake timing on this. But again, you look at the stock one, it's 140. I'd be inclined to not add a bunch of intake timing to the saw because it might spit back. There's a reason why Stihl has such short intake timing on this saw. So again, as a builder, I put all this stuff into my brain and think about it. If a saw has 140 and I normally want 152, 154, do I really want to add like 6 degrees of timing to the bottom of the intake? Maybe not. Transfer timing, 123, you know, or 23 degrees of blowdown. I'm happy with that. 102, I might be inclined to put this exhaust at about 100. Do a little upper transfer work, hog out the lowers like I tend to do, and give this thing a sprinkling of intake timing and see how it runs. So I think that's going to be the plan on this. Have to check the squish. Now again, if I take the base gasket out of this saw, I'm probably going to be at like 103, 126, and, you know, 71 on the intake. So I'll be at 142 then, total duration. So we can gain some intake timing as long as the squish isn't too tight. So anyhow, friends, just puttering in the shop. I got some more yard work to do. I'm going to do some videos on that. Hope you guys join in for that content. And thanks for watching. Take her easy. And as always, guys, thanks for your support. And thanks for hanging out on the channel. Later. It's time for question of the day. It's pushing midnight, friends. So I'm going to whisper here because the baby's not far that way in the house. And with this big booming voice that I was blessed with, it's easy to wake her up. Anyhow, today's question of the day comes from Michael Kelly. Michael was asking about base gasket deletes. Now, Michael, if you go on my channel and do a search base gasket delete, you'll find I did a video with the cutaway showing what a base gasket delete does. If you haven't watched that video, check it out. Michael is asking, he understands you move the gasket out to do a base gasket delete and that drops the cylinder. What he wanted to know is, putting the silicone in there, won't that raise the cylinder back up? Now, you might think that, but with the product I use Permatex Moto Seal. There's other good products out there, but that's the one that I personally use. I put a thin layer on the crankcase and the cylinder, and I crank it down. And when I actually do that, I end up with 2 to 3 thousandths of squish. And by squish, I mean squishing the cylinder down, okay? And you end up with 2 to 3 thousandths of material in between. The rest will squirt out. I've measured several times on many cylinders. It's always 2 to 3 thousandths is what I'm getting. So no matter how much silicone you put in there, you will squeeze it out. So use it sparingly because it will go into the engine as well as out. And base gasket delete, when you do drop that cylinder, make sure it's not too close to the piston. 20 to 25 thousand is a happy place. 30 thousandths even. I wouldn't go below 20. You can cause problems later on in a saw's life by doing that. And again, that gives you a little more compression because your squish is tighter, and also you close your exhaust port sooner, and that will cause you to have a little bit more compression, and also that lowers your intake. So it'll open sooner and close later. So you get a little bit more intake timing and a little bit more compression. Usually results in a stronger, gruntier saw. Anyhow, hope that answers your questions. And for everybody else, keep sending those questions of the day. I love putting them at the end of videos. I appreciate you guys taking the time to send them. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.